Hey guys, and welcome back to Cine Club. I am Maria, and this is the show where we watch new movies that have recently come out, and I review them for you. And the movie that I saw this week was Exodus: Gods and Kings. Directed by Ridley Scott, Exodus is the very well-known story of Moses. The story doesn't need a lot of explanation. I think it's a story everybody knows pretty well. It has a lot to say. It's an epic story in the Bible. And when I heard that Ridley Scott was going to direct it, I thought it would be really cool because he's pretty great at these kind of period epic stories. But there was just something about Exodus that didn't quite click together. Like, the overall result just wasn't what you would want from a Ridley Scott movie. The first thing that immediately annoyed me and set me off is that it seems so similar to Gladiator. Like, the simple basic story of it just reminded me so much of Gladiator. And granted, there's not much you can do about that. Moses is not exactly Ridley Scott's story, and he directed Gladiator before. Fine, I totally get that. But the way he directed both of those movies, the little details he added to each character just resonates so much. So you can understand what I'm trying to tell you. Basically, there's the story of this king, and this king has two men who he loves very much. One of them is entitled. He is the one who should be heir to the throne, but he's not so great in the battlefield. He's not so loved by everybody. And then there's the other one who's not really the king's son, but he loves him very much. He's also very loved by the people. He's a great general. He's a great warrior. And then something happens to the king, or the king gets sick. And then the guy who you don't really want to be the next in line, well, there's no other choice. He's definitely going to be the next one. And then he's going to maybe try to kill the guy that you like, and there's no choice but for him to escape. And he's going to be in the desert for a very, very long time. And then he's going to be taken in by people who will care for him. He will build a life there. He'll be a different person. But then he'll have no other choice but to come back and face his past and face the guy who is the evil pharaoh slash king. I mean, does that sound familiar to you? Come on, Ridley Scott, what were you thinking? And I would not care so much until the one point where he actually literally used a same line that is in Gladiator, in the exact same scenario. If you don't remember very well, Joaquin Phoenix's character, there's a moment where he's looking at his nephew sleeping, and he says to him, he sleeps so well because he's so loved. Well, that kind of thing happens exactly with Ramses as well, with his son. And when I heard that almost exact same line, it was game over. Game over, man. Game over. But apart from Ridley Scott trying to recycle the same success that he had with Gladiator, there were just so many moments in the film that fell flat, like the most important moments in Moses' story, which everybody knows very well, that you're expecting a lot of emotion and you're expecting a lot of intensity. It just doesn't happen. So moments like when Moses finds out he's a Hebrew and not really an Egyptian, or the burning bush scene, or even when Moses comes back and tries to talk to Ramses about letting his people go, those are moments of huge intensity. Those are the moments you're looking forward to, and once they're there, they just feel kind of underwhelming. And to me, one of the biggest mistakes there is the casting of Ramses. I just feel like he was the wrong pick for this character. He's a really, really good actor, but it just felt like he wasn't committed to the character of Ramses. There was just nothing there to work with, and it was so disappointing every time he was on screen. It was just everything about it, the way he portrayed him, the way he carried himself. It was just kind of like this modern day jock body language that he had with a guy that has a chip on his shoulder. It was that feeling, and it just felt so out of place in this entire epic. I mean, in no point should you ever relate to Ramses. He's the bad guy, and he's pure evil, really. But Ramses has such a presence every time you see him, and if you don't get Ramses right, you're not gonna get Moses right either. And while I didn't like the way this guy portrayed Ramses, I don't feel like it was entirely his fault. There were so many great, well-known actors, including Christian Bale, that were just in this movie, and you didn't get anything from them. You just didn't feel it. The biggest controversy about this movie is that Ridley Scott basically just whitewashed the entire cast. And that's fair to say. I mean, that was one of the reasons I didn't really want to see it either. But once you see the movie, you realize the problem is not that he picked an entirely white cast. The problem is that he just did not use his actors at all. He had so many talented people, and they have like 5 lines tops throughout the entire movie, a 2.5-hour movie. And when you see that in every single actor, and they're all like A-list actors, you realize it's not so much about them, but what the director is doing. I feel like he just didn't direct them at all. Like, he just didn't understand the characters, and he was just fine with it looking great, but not looking for any real depth in the movie. The other thing I kept wondering about as the movie kept going was how he was going to portray God throughout the movie, because after the burning bush scene, even though you don't see God, you know God is present. And that's a very, very important factor in the story, at least in my opinion. But basically the way he decided to interpret God in this movie is the embodiment of purity and innocence. That's the way I feel it. But then he tried to clash that with the angry God of the Old Testament, and it was just a contrast that, for me, it didn't fit. It didn't work the way he thought it would. It was just strange to me. I'm Catholic, I know the story of Moses very well, and I've never had a problem with the way people interpret God or the way people want to present God in their movies or in their art or in anything. I think it's open to interpretation. You can do whatever you want with it. I think it's the Bible and you can decipher it in any way you want. So I'm cool with Ridley Scott doing whatever he thinks is right for his movie. In my opinion, it doesn't work because to me the story of Moses is a story of hope and victory. The whole point of Moses is that God is with Moses, God is with the Hebrews. That is, like, I think the essential message of the story. You shouldn't be afraid, God is with you. But I think what they were trying to capture was the fact that there's always doubt. Even when you have faith, even when you think you know what God wants from you, there's always a little bit of doubt, and you're not sure if he's with you, you're not sure entirely if you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you do see that in Moses, and that is compelling, and that makes him very relatable even. This is not to say the movie was a complete failure. I don't think anyone would leave this movie completely hating it. There were some really, really good moments in it. I love the way he created the plagues. You just really felt the pain and the desperation. He handled it very well. He also created really great moments with different characters. I love every scene between Moses and his wife. There's also really tender moments between Ramses and his son, which, you know, it really plays later into the movie. There's a lot of little great moments throughout the film, but overall I just feel like he didn't grasp it. There's so much to choose from. It could be an epic adventure, it could be an action movie, it could be an emotional movie, and Ridley Scott seemed to have said just, nah, we don't need any of that. So if I had to review this movie, I would tell you that Exodus is a cool movie if you just want to rent it on DVD. But hey guys, that's just my opinion. Tell me, what did you think of Exodus, Gods and Kings? I still think Prince of Egypt is a pretty solid movie. I mean, if you want to see the story of Moses with that feel and that emotion, I think that's the way to go. But guys, that's everything for this episode of Cine Club. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed talking to you about this movie. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. That is always appreciated. And if you would like to see more, you can go ahead and click that red button and subscribe to my channel. I hope you have a really great week. I hope you get to go to the movies, and I will see you on our next movie date. Bye!